Good morning, everyone. It is the 7th, not the 4th. It is the 4th month, though, so, in case you were worried about that or had to write out a check, it's the 4th month. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing your Modly Mod duty. And Christine, good morning, Alice G. And let's see here, Tammy C.A., Fedorowski and Cup of Joe, good morning, Audio Coffee, and everyone. So we have a bunch of stories, and I hesitate to tell you guys to gird your ear loins already, but we have a Lord Chippy, candidate right off the jump, y'all. So if you are wearing earbuds, turn it down just a scotch, because we have Lord Chippy attendants are needed right off the jump today. Good morning, Jem. Hope the little guy let you sleep. So our first story starts off with some horrifying scenes from an attack with a maniac with a meat cleaver on the streets of New York City. Before he was shot by NYPD cops, he managed to enact a level of carnage that you can see from these pictures. I mean, a meat cleaver and a bunch of knives. This is crazy. 4 young girls were slashed with a meat cleaver in Brooklyn on Sunday morning when a relative went on a deranged and bloody rampage before he was shot by police officers. Now, police rushed to a home on 84th Street around 10:15 a.m. after one of the victims, a wounded 11-year-old girl, had locked herself in a room and called 911 before telling the dispatcher that her uncle had stabbed her and her siblings. At that point, cops heard screaming from behind the door to their left and immediately began forcing their way into the apartment, kicking down the door. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch told reporters briefly at the scene. Now, once they entered, they encountered a man standing near the entrance holding a large meat cleaver covered in blood, and they could see blood on the floor in the home, Tisch said. Now, officers ordered the man to drop the weapon several times, but he refused and advanced toward them. The 2 officers then discharged their firearms, firing 7 total rounds between them, striking the subject and ending the threat, she said. Now, Tisch said that the 4 girls, aged 16, 13, 11, and 8, all suffered severe, slash and stab wounds and were rushed to the medical center. Now, they all are expected to survive. But, I mean, I was seeing pictures of these things come out on, yesterday, and I was just like, holy God, what is going on with people? This could have ended very differently, Tisch added. Now, the suspect, identified as Lung Cheng Chen, 49, was also rushed to the hospital and is in critical condition. He's believed to have lived in the home where the horror unfolded. Now, the motive for the brutal assault is still under investigation. I was watching through the window and a girl covered in blood came out, said a neighbor who was asked to be identified only as Maria. And then there was another girl, and 2 other girls were also covered in blood. I was shaken, and I'm shaken now. I usually don't see them. They just moved here. I lived here for 7 years, and there's a lot of new people moving in here. Now, disturbing images of the scene obtained by the Post show at least one of the girls outside the building covered head to toe, with blood, while the suspect was being wheeled out on a stretcher. They brought a guy on a stretcher, all with bloody and no shirt. A neighbor, Hubert Herreta, said, I don't know who it was, but they shot him twice. They took him out and put him in the ambulance, probably 40 years old. Now, Tisch told reporters that a 5th child, a boy, was in the apartment earlier and ran for help when the suspect started to launch his attack. Now, right now, we know that there were 5 children for her, she said, and this might be the father of some of them or the uncle. Again, we're working through that, and we believe the mother was out of the house. Now, State Assemblyman Lester Chang, who represents the Brooklyn neighborhood, says one of the victims may have been a babysitter. So I would expect a lot more information to be coming out on this particular, case. But definitely this is a case that is going to, I think, be a bigger one. I mean, these images were just horrific. Well, the sea lions have gone wild. If you are on the West Coast, do be careful when you're going in the sea, not only for great white sharks, but apparently that algae bloom is now affecting more sea lions. Sea lions are attacking people off the waters of California's coast. Here's why. Now, along some 70 miles of Southern California's coastline, usually curious and playful sea lions are now attacking humans in the water. These animals are being poisoned by the ocean they live in, experts say, citing reports of 6 sea lions at unprecedented levels, and many are dying. Now, Phoebe Beltran, a 15-year-old girl in Long Beach, was swimming on March 30th when a sea lion attacked her right arm. I was so scared and so shocked. I still felt the immense pain on my arms, like over and over again, Beltran, who was just finishing up a 1,000-yard swim during tryouts to become a junior lifeguard. CNN affiliate KCAL said. Now, her arm was covered in bites, bruises, and scratches, but she didn't require any stitches. Now, up the coast in Ventura County on March 21st, a surfer near Oxnard was bitten by a sea lion in open water, and we did actually cover that particular story, so it looks like this is expanding. So I do want you people who are on the West Coast to be, careful around sea lions. Although, Hollywood, I would watch Sea Lion, the horror movie. Now, the sea lion, we kind of heard the dramatic story. You can see some of the injuries that this young swimmer had. So, I mean, that still looks terrifying. Also, Karen Reed's defense attorneys probably want to look at you. Otherwise, have you been near a tail light? So, now the cause is less demonic and likely more demonic acid toxosis caused by a toxic algal bloom, often referred to as the red tide. The sea lions are becoming almost comatose by the time they're stranding. Something is happening with this particular bloom that seems worse on multiple levels. John Warner, CEO of Maritime Mammal Care Center in Los Angeles, told CNN. But volume-wise, this is definitely the worst we've ever seen. Now, dolphins have also been affected. When the neurological toxin gets into the sea lion's food supply, it causes them to have trouble breathing, experience seizures, and conclude a type of seizure that's called stargazing in sea lions, where they extend their heads back for an unnaturally long time with their eyes closed. When they're affected with this toxin, they're out of their minds, Warner said. They're scared, totally disoriented, and frightened. They don't understand where they are. They're struggling to even get out of the water so they don't drown. Now, during this time, sea lions can experience a hyper-energetic fight or flight kind of aggressive or scared behavior. So if someone swims or walks next to them, they don't see the animal or the animal doesn't see them, and that's where some of the negative interactions can take place. So it does look like they are trying to care for all of these, sea lions who are hurt. The center gets approximately 3,000 to 4,000 calls a year about sick and stranded animals when there is no emergency, but there have been more than 2,000 calls to its hotline in the last 5 weeks alone. Warner likened the deluge of calls to a tsunami. So hopefully they can get this figured out so that these, creatures aren't really, really confused and hurt and sick and scared. Hopefully, because I mean, they look cute, but I mean, just another reason for me not to go to California. That being said, I hope we fix this problem because they look like really cute critters. Well, I mean, of all the reasons to not get 23andMe, well, here's the reason to maybe get it. If you too hold on to the deeply held but irrational belief that you might could be adopted, a Long Island man who was switched at birth with a baby who had the same last name and discovered a mix-up on an ancestry site 60 years later, says his lawsuit. Well, 23andMe, he's like, you're not my dad and you're not my mom. Wait, I'm not even your kid. A Long Island man was switched at birth with a baby born minutes apart who had the same last name and only learned the awful truth through Ancestry.com, he told the Post in heartbreaking detail. Now, Kevin McMahon, 64, who is suing Jamaica Hospital in Queens over the alleged screw-up that occurred on May 26, 1960, said that DNA tests confirmed that his nagging suspicion that he wasn't his parents' biological child. It was like the missing piece in a jigsaw. Kevin said he works in telecommunications and was raised in Richmond Hill, Queens. It explained everything about why my childhood was the way it was. Now, Kevin said he grew up tormented by some family members because they suspected he was not even a blood relative. The Sheldon man finally learned the devastating truth in 2020 when the woman he knew as his sister, Carol Vignola, 66, submitted her DNA to the genetic database Ancestry.com and discovered that she had a biological brother she was unaware of, according to Kevin's lawsuit filed in Queens Civil Court, November 2021. Now, the other man was named Ross McHannon, and he had been born about 45 minutes apart from Kevin at the same hospital, according to court papers. Now, the infants were given consecutive birth certificate numbers, both tagged Baby McMahon, and then allegedly handed to the wrong parents. Now, DNA tests confirmed Vignola's longtime gut feeling that Kevin was not related to her, in part because of his darker eyes and complexion. Now, she took the news to Kevin, and he was shocked by disbelief and grief, having suffered through a tormented childhood. It was like a shock reaction. Literally, I couldn't come to terms with the information, said Kevin. For a long time, I'm like, I'm not really Kevin McMahon. I'm Ross McMahon, he said. I thought to myself, I'm nobody. I don't exist. It's just hard to deal with, really hard, he said. Now, in January 2021, Kevin took his own Ancestry.com test and got results confirming that he was not, in fact, genetically related to the family that had raised him. Now, he also learned that his own biological brother, named Keith McMahon, according to the suit. Now, the two sets of biological siblings, Vignola and Ross, as well as Kevin and Keith, later took additional blood tests to determine that they were definitely a match to each other, the suit says. Now, Kevin said, looking back, the woman he knew as his paternal grandmother and the man he called dad long suspected that he was not related to them and treated him like a loathed outsider. My grandmother, my father's mother, doted on Carol and my younger brother, Donald, and my older brother, Raymond, but she seemed to hate me, McMahon said, with tears welling up in his eyes. She believed that I was not my father's child, and she was correct. But that's bad on you, Grandmama, because that baby didn't ask to be here, and he is a baby, and you just love that baby. Like, ooh, just the evil points you get for letting a child feel unloved. Just no. No, you don't. I don't care. That baby had nothing to do with, anything. And you wanted to be hateful towards a baby? Just ugly. Mm-mm. It made me feel worthless and it destroyed my confidence, he said. And then here are the birth certificates in question. Now, his grandmother had assumed that his mother had cheated on his father because Kevin's appearance was so different, Kevin said. He had both olive skin and brown eyes, while most of his family had blue eyes, fair skin, and freckles. I had a certain interaction with my grandmother that were abusive. I mean, physically abusive. And I learned to fear her and just stay away from her, really just to stay out of arm's reach. He told the Post of his late grandmother. He said he didn't feel connected to his dad either. I feared my father. I got hit a lot when I was a kid from my father. I did not look forward to him coming home. I just thought my father really didn't care for me. I remember my father being affectionate and playful with my younger brother, and me trying to get in on that, and my father just not being mean to me, but just kind of keeping me at an arm's length. Both sets of parents involved in the alleged horror switch are now dead. Kevin acknowledged that he harbors a little bit of jealousy toward Ross because he was the firstborn child to my biological parents, and they didn't question whether he was their child. They doted on him, Kevin said. My blood brother Keith tells me that my biological paternal father was Ross's biggest fan and that he supported him, always had his back, was always there, and I would have loved to have had that. Now, neither Ross nor Keith nor others involved in the situation wanted to talk to the Post. Now, Vignola said she started wondering if McMahon was really her biological brother when she was around 7. He was laying on the bunk bed without a shirt on, she recalled. I was probably around 7, and I was looking at him, and I said, "Kevin, you come from the milkman." Okay, but this done screwed up this little boy's life for his entire life. Dude, this family needs to be sued. At this point, I hate everyone in this situation except for the dude that got stuck in a family who didn't want him. I turned to my mother and I said, "Mommy, why doesn't he look like us?" And her mother snapped back, "Don't ever speak like that, Carol. That is your brother," according to the sister. Now McMahon just wants the hospital to admit they made a mistake by placing him with the wrong family. It makes them seem cold and heartless that they're not even coming across and acknowledging that this took place, he said. The lawsuit also speaks unspecified financial damages. Now his lawyer, Jeremy Shizowitz, said that the hospital failed to double-check its procedures. This wasn't a fluke. It was a preventable tragedy. With the rise of DNA testing, we're going to see more of these stories come to light, the lawyer says. Kevin just happens to be the first one. Now, Jamaica Hospital did not return a request for comment, so there you have it. But I imagine that this is not going to be, so cut and dry, or this is not going to be a hard case to, for him to prove emotional suffering and damage. Now, in a terribly sad news, and as a mom, can I say that I am so glad that the schools around here decided to do a 2-hour delay. For those of you who don't know, the Midwest, has been experiencing a lot of rainfall and flooding in the past couple of days with more rain expected. And it looks like one school decided not to do any delays, and this tragedy happened. A boy walking to a school bus was swept away by floodwater and passed away more than an hour after other bus routes were canceled. In the hours before he died, 9-year-old Gabriel Andrews woke up before dawn Friday to catch his school bus on the last day of school before spring break. Now, torrential rainfall had pummeled Kentucky so badly that National Weather Services had indicated flash flood warnings until late Friday morning for 13 counties, including all of Franklin County, home of Frankfort, Kentucky, capital city of Gabriel's family. Now, the weather bulletin, which was issued at 12:29 a.m., warned of flash flooding in small creeks, streams, urban areas, highways, streets, underpasses, low-lying areas, and places with poor drainage. The flash flood warning, which spanned 13 counties, was scheduled to end at 8:30 a.m. Now, around 6:35 a.m., Gabriel ventured out of his home, but he never made it to the school bus. It has been reported that he had been caught in floodwaters in the area of Hickory Hills while walking towards the school bus stop, Assistant Chief of Police Scott Tracy said. Now, first responders rushed to the scene and conducted an extensive search and rescue operation, Tracy said. Volunteers even joined in the search. Then at 8:47 a.m., unfortunately, Gabriel was found about half a mile away from where he was reportedly swept away, Franklin County Coroner William C. Harold said. Now, Gabriel was among at least 9 people killed across several states after a rash of deadly storms ripped through central U.S., spawning dozens of tornadoes and dumping more than a foot of rain, leading to catastrophic flooding. While some residents say that Gabriel's death was a tragic accident with no one at fault, some parents blame the school district for not delaying or canceling classes Friday, despite the widespread flash flood warnings, and the fact that the district had already canceled 2 of the school's bus routes earlier that morning. Now, CNN has reached out to the Franklin County Schools superintendent and the attendant's, assistant for comment. In a written statement, Superintendent Mark Koop offered, condolences to the boys' family, but did not say why the district did not postpone or cancel school Friday. We are deeply saddened that this horrific tragedy has claimed the life of one of our students. The entire Franklin County school system is praying for the family and friends of those directly affected by the events this morning. At this time, we are working with support staff at our schools and offering services to our students, facility, and staff. Now, around 5 a.m. Eastern Time Friday, Franklin County Schools posted notices on its website and its Facebook message page with an urgent message. We need to cancel 2 bus routes this morning. Now, alerts listed which neighborhoods were affected, and it acknowledged that it might be challenging for some students to get to school. If your student rides on these buses and is unable to attend school, please contact your child's school. The notice read, "Thank you and stay safe, everyone." Now, a few hours later, the school's district of about 6,000 students posted an update dismissing rumors that the schools were on lockdown and confirmed that no schools were closed Friday. All schools are operating normally and there have been no lockdowns in the district. Now, the mother of one of Gabriel's classmates questioned why Franklin County Schools did not cancel classes Friday. The rain was coming down hard. They had already called off certain bus routes in the area due to flooded roadways, Caitlin Green told CNN affiliate WLKY. Now, Gabriel's neighbors described the complicated route children must take to reach the bus stop. Now, children who live in the same apartment complex as Gabriel's family must hop a drain, which had rushing water on it Friday, to get to the bus. Franklin County Schools has not responded to CNN's question about why it was why only 2 bus routes were canceled while the entire county was under a flash flood warning. Now, the school district also did not explain why those 2 bus routes were canceled, yet the school's district was still expecting students to travel to come to school some other way. The county coroner has not released Gabriel's cause of death. The boy's autopsy is scheduled for Saturday, with expected results to be back in about 16 to 20 weeks. Gabriel was swept about half a mile southwest before he was found, according to a map provided by the coroner. Beyond that, many questions remain unanswered. Oh, hell no. I sat both of my girls down last night because they're both drivers. And even though they had a 2-hour delay, I said, you guys do not drive through any standing water. I don't care if it looks, promise me that. If you can't get to school, I will call them and explain I'm not sending my kids to their government indoctrination center because it's dangerous. I probably would put it just that way too, to be honest with you. But this is heartbreaking, and you have to note that the school district knows exactly, because their bus drivers will tell them exactly where, their buses, where low-lying areas are, all of this stuff. There is no excuse for this, and some heads should roll. Heads should roll. I'm sorry, but I come from a school district that I think just cancels school sometimes because of lack of teacher motivation. Who the hell knows? There will be no snow on the ground, yet my kids have an asynchronous learning day. So you're telling me that Kentucky couldn't have figured out how to do an asynchronous learning day? I don't get it. In a more heartwarming story, I thought we definitely needed something that will give us hope for humanity. It starts off sad, but it still ends up good. She lost her teenage son in 2023. His best friend, though, still shows up every week to watch their show together. Erica Hernandez lost her youngest son, Havain, look, in 2023 to gun violence. Processing the grief of losing her teenager was no easy feat, but she quickly learned that she would not be alone in the process. While her son might be gone, his best friend Mally continues to visit and spend time with her. My son Jovan was the youngest of my two boys, and from the moment he was born, it was clear he was one of a kind, Hernandez told people exclusively. He danced to the beat of his own drum, completely free-spirited and full of life. It was as if he knew he had to make the most of every single moment. What truly made him special was his ability to bring people together. Since he was little, he had a natural gift for making friends. I'd come home from work to find a driveway full of neighborhood kids, his little rascals, I'd call them, Hernandez recalls. No matter where life took him, he never lost touch with the people he cared about. Now, Hernandez admits that it took some time for, Jovan and Mally to become friends. Their bond wasn't instant, but, a good basketball game ultimately brought them together. That first game was all it took. The basketball became their love language, and from that moment on, they were inseparable. Wherever they were playing ball, making music, or just getting into something together, they always had each other's backs. Is there not another photo? Seriously, you tout heartwarmingness, but we don't see another photo other than this. Okay. Mally was even the one who secretly taught him how to drive, something that I didn't find out about until after my son had passed. Now, Javan and Mally were also special friends, and the bond had lasted for years. They were friends for about 7 years before he passed, but had lifelong plans that they intended to pursue. Their friendship ran deep. They had this dream of naming their future sons after each other so their kids could be friends too, Hernandez says. Even when life got busy, they made sure to stay close, meeting in our neighborhood country club to catch up and talk about life. Those two were a handful, but their shared passion and drive pushed each other forward and made it seem like they were long-lost brothers. Mally was a frequent visitor to the Hernandez's home before his friend's passing. But in a video posted to TikTok this week, she revealed that all this time later, he still shows up every week with his girlfriend to watch The Equalizer with her. Hernandez shares with people how this tradition came to be. Mally had been coming to my house since he and, Jovan became friends. Whether it was to play ball or get a haircut or listen to music, chill, that kind of thing. Just like Mally, it was a second home, and that never really changed, Hernandez shared. After he passed away, Mally would randomly show up almost every day. No heads up, no text, just there, Hernandez recalls. I would be on a work, Zoom call, and there he was outside the window, being his usual silly self, trying to get my attention. It got to the point where I'd text him instead of replying, and he'd walk right in. Eventually, Mally appeared when Hernandez was watching season 5 finale of The Equalizer on TV. Of course, Mally showed up. He sat down and watched it with me, and I got totally hooked, Hernandez recounted. Afterward, I mentioned that the earlier seasons were on Netflix and told him if he wanted to watch, he could come over, but he had to bring pizza. After her son passed, Mally's visits became, more frequent. Hernandez tells people now Mally and his girlfriend come over to Hernandez's house every week to watch The Equalizer with her. The video of the heartwarming tidbit has been viewed more than 22.2 million times. Some people say his visits are a promise he made to Javan to watch over me if anything ever happened to him. And that very well could be true, she continued. What I truly believe is that I'm the only tangible connection Mally still has to my son. And as long as Mally wants me in his life, I'll always be there for him. Now, those in her comments demanding that Mally get a house key, Hernandez is happy to report that he officially has one, giving him easier access to her home. She tells people that the response to her video has been overwhelmingly comforting, with many people sharing similar situations and experiences. What really hit me, though, was seeing how many parents in situations similar to mine found comfort in this video. A lot of people shared how it helped them see loss and grief in a different light. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, finding healing and connections in the most unexpected of places. So there you guys go. I'm a cry. I'm a cry. There's not even like, Sarah McLachlan and like sad puppies everywhere. Now, I'm going to need Lord Chippy attendance. I know you are called in early today, and it's a Monday, but I'm going to need you to come over here right here quick, because we got another attendant. Okay, these two genetic, losers of life, these two absolute a-holes, wrapped in human garbage, allegedly in Minecraft, need Lord Chippy's biggest attention. A mom and her boyfriend abandoned a hot, thirsty, and hungry 6-year-old girl on the side of the road so they could charge their phones. Ugh. A Florida woman received quite the surprise Friday afternoon when she saw a dog wandering in her front yard and found an unaccompanied little girl sitting on a chair in her carport. Now the child's mother, 27-year-old Aquania Alicia Estes, and her 29-year-old boyfriend, Petrez Floyd, are behind bars. The neighbor called the Valdosta County Sheriff's Office around 4:30 p.m. on Friday after she discovered the child and dog outside her Deltona home, the press release said. Now, per the deputies, the girl told the neighbor that she was hot, thirsty, and hungry. She brought the girl food, water, toys, and clean clothes as deputies tried to find her parents. Now, police posted body cam footage of the deputies' interaction with the girl. "Do you know if you live nearby here?" the deputy asked, and the girl said she wasn't sure. "You don't know? You don't know Mommy and Daddy's name?" the deputy responds. She gave the cops the name Kiwana. "Did Mommy and Daddy drop you off by yourself?" the deputy queried. The girl said they had to go somewhere, and she didn't know when they were going to be coming back. "Mommy and Daddy needed to go charge their cell phones," the child told the deputy, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by local Fox affiliate WOFL. She also said that she did not attend school. Now, media personnel responded to the scene to take the girl's vital signs, and they came back as okay per the deputies. Now, the cops managed to track down these two morons some 9 hours later, the press release stated. Now, body cam footage showed that deputies were incredulous at the situation. "You leave your kid on the side of the effing road?" the deputy asked. Estes explained that they were homeless and lived in the forest, the video showed. "She got out from where she was staying at," the mother reasoned. "I was trying to go get food and water. We've been going through a rough time." Now, deputies discovered the area where the family has been living, which consisted of 2 tents in the woods. Now, Estes and Floyd are arrested on charges of desertion of a child and abandonment of an animal. Both remained behind bars as of Sunday morning on a $51,000 bond. The girl was placed in the custody of her grandparents. Thank God. I mean, who does this? Who's like, you know what? I'm homeless. If you are homeless and going through something, there are family shelters. I understand it's not the easiest to do, but it's amazing how this mom couldn't, didn't let her cell phone die, but couldn't be bothered to keep an eye on her daughter. Some people care way too much more about their cell phone and their electronic devices than they do their children, and you can see it. Yeah, hopefully she gets the grandparents are a stable influence. They have a home, a place where she can feel clean, safe, get food, water, and support. Because now, y'all, it's a Florida heavy morning. I don't know. A Florida man, yet again, was arrested for unlawfully boarding a younger fisherman's boat after video of a heated confrontation goes viral. Well, I mean, maybe he's just upset that he's got a really doofy looking sunburn. A 40-year-old, excuse me, you know when you have a burp that turns into a hiccup or something akin to that? A 40-year-old Florida man who allegedly filmed pulling up alongside and unlawfully boarding another person's boat amid a heated confrontation has now been arrested following an investigation. The footage shows a man who referred to himself as, quote, the best charter captain you'll ever meet, end quote, argued with a younger fisherman, he was arguing with the younger fisherman, then climbing into that fisherman's boat to demand an apology in Punta Gorda on April 1st. The footage has now gone viral on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. On April 4th, the Punta Gorda Police Department, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and the U.S. Coast Guard said in a joint news release that Brock Horner had been taken into custody and charged with burglary, assault, and battery non-forced entry. I never wanted to post this video in the first place because it made me feel so weak, but I was already having a horrible day and this iced my cake. The original uploader, Gage Towels, wrote on YouTube, I look at it now like the possibility to save another person from Brock Horner or possibly someone's life from getting this captain off the water. And thank you so much, Squaw Bob, for the the gifting of memberships. Over here having to find my pens. I decided to be all organized and I put everything away, which is definitely not my modus operandi. So I'm all confused because everything has a spot and it's there, so it's confusing me. But thank you so much, Squaw Bob. And those went to Jem. Looks like you gifted yourself one. Captain Kern Makes, which is Captain Kern's new channel. He will be doing a whole, new channel thing tonight. So definitely look out for Captain Kern Makes, is his new channel. And he does all of the magical, 3D printing stuff. Definitely check that out. I'm going to say Ashley and Michelle. So congratulations. And let me get those written out. But why are you going to go onto someone else's boat? I mean, I figured pirate rules, you can, I don't know, attack someone for getting on your boat and not offering you rum. I mean, they are, was it far enough away to be international waters? Because isn't that like a actual thing? You have to be some sort of miles away. I'm over here making up, maritime law when I don't know. Over here yeah, sure, it's totally legal to, kick someone's ass if you're out on sea. Don't take any legal or life advice from me. This is kind of the basis of this being a channel. All my advice is for entertainment purposes, and I am not even sure I qualify as an adult half the time, so, make of that what you will. Thank you so much. I had to make sure that my youngest, most feral hadn't put my wooden guys to where they were doing something anatomically impossible and or X-rated. And then it looks like there's, yeah, so don't, try to aboard or, I don't know, climb aboard someone else's vessel because they piss you off. Now, according to the PGPD, the department's investigation involved reviewing video evidence and interviewing those present during the confrontation as the PGPD Marine Unit established probable cause to arrest Horner over what is being called an unlawful boarding and threats made during the altercation. Now, upon viewing the footage, investigators found that Horner had unlawfully boarded the victim's boat without permission before threatening the victim and escalating the situation to a criminal offense. The Coast and Wildlife, Conservation were also conducting separate investigations. Now, as of April 4th, police say that Horner has remained in custody at the Charlotte County Jail. This type of behavior will not be tolerated on our waterways or anywhere else in our city, Chief Pam Smith said in a news release. We are committed to ensuring the safety of our residents and visitors, both on land and the water. Now, Scott Weinberg, an attorney for Horner, said in a statement provided to NBC affiliate WBBH that Horner sincerely apologizes to Gage's family, and to anyone who is frightened or upset by what they saw. Brock is not proud of how he acted, but it's important to remember that we are not the sum of our worst day. The video captured one moment, not the whole of who he is. Since the video went viral, Brock's business has been destroyed, his reputation damaged, and his family, including his wife and mother, have been harassed and even threatened. The attorney wrote, "Someone has gone so far as to question his military service and accuse him of stolen valor." We live in a time when online outrage can quickly spiral into personal destruction, he added. But just as Gage showed grace in that moment, I ask others to do the same now. Let's hold people accountable, but let's also give them room to grow and make amends. In an announcement on Facebook, the Fisherman Village in Punta Gorda has since shared that it has severed any association with this captain. In the footage, also shared by a Fox affiliate, WTVT, captured by towels in Florida's Peace River, a man could be heard approaching the victim about a previous encounter. He claimed the victim was cussing me out on a different occasion. While the victim argued that Horner ran through the middle of a bridge while he was fishing on it earlier during that day. Now, the argument then transitioned to the captain complaining about the victim's boat light, and the victim asked him to get the F out of here. During the captain brought up his own military service before calling himself, quote, the best charter captain you'll ever meet, while boarding the other man's boat and demanding he apologize. The young boater attempted to drive away as the suspect continued to threaten him before asking him to bring him back to his boat. "Do it again and watch what effing happens," the man could be heard telling the younger boater. Now, on April 5th, the PGPD held a press conference on Horner's arrest as authorities confirmed that the April 1st confrontation stemmed from another that took place on the evening of March 30th, when the victim claimed that Horner drove his boat at a high rate of speed and came within 10 feet of his own boat. Now, Chief Smith confirmed that the most recent confrontation took place when the victim was fishing by himself. "If you've seen the video, you'll see that the victim tries to disengage," she said. "He doesn't want anything to do with the confrontation, and at some point he even says, 'Please, bro, I don't want anything to do with this.' But Mr. Horner continues to be aggressive and eventually pulls up to the victim's vessel." Now, police added that Horner at one point grabbed the victim by his shirt, and the victim became so afraid for his life that he actually contemplated jumping off of his own boat to get away from Mr. Horner, Smith said. Horner was apprehended around 10:15 on April 4th, with the investigation still open. Now, speaking with reporters on April 5th, Smith called the video a critical piece of evidence. "It helps when you have a video when you're in a situation like this," she said. "The witnesses have been cooperative and basically corroborated the victim's statement." Now, ultimately, Smith told reporters that the aggressive behavior captured on camera is not tolerated in the city. "We want to assure everybody that the city of Punta Gorda is a boater-friendly community. We want our residents and our visitors to know that we take these things very seriously, and we want to be able to enjoy our waterways safely. So, no fisticuffs. The first rule of Boat Fight Club is that you don't talk about Boat Fight Club." I mean, this young man didn't understand the rules. That being said, don't mess with people on the land, on the sea, in the air. Just don't mess with people. Now, in a movie I was fortunate not to have to go see, but it looks like I'm going to have to go see next weekend because my youngest, most feral son is demanding it. A Minecraft movie shatters box office expectations with a record-breaking $150 million opening weekend. Now, I have heard that this movie is flaming dumpster farts. But if you're, a 7-year-old boy, it has bright colors. A Minecraft movie leveled up at the box office, collecting a blockbuster $157 million in its opening weekend. It's not only the biggest domestic debut of the year, but the best in history for a video game adaptation. What, you mean Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich didn't make the cut? Dang. Or the Tetris movie? Or was that called Pixels? Anywho. Heading into the weekend, Warner Brothers and Legendary's PG fantasy comedy starring Jack Black and Jason Momoa was projected to take in about $70 million to $80 million, with some bullish analysts suggesting a final number closer to $90 million. Now, thanks to pent-up demand for a family film, broad appeal, and goodwill toward the 2011 video game, Minecraft squashed expectations in the US and abroad. At the international box office, the tentpole added $144 million to a global start of $301 million. The film cost a total of $150 million to produce before global marketing expenses. Now, prior to this weekend, Disney and Marvel's Captain America: Brave New World, opening of $88 million held the benchmark for the year's biggest opening, while Universal's and Illumination's 2023 smash Super Mario World or Brothers movie made $146 million and became the largest start for any video game adaptation. Now, Jared Hess of Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre directed a Minecraft movie which follows a group of misfits who are pulled through a portal into a cubic world and guided by an expert crafter named Steve, Jack Black. Reviews have been mixed, 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, though that clearly did not have an influence on audience turnout. The film is drawing that coveted 5-quadrant movie, appealing broadly to everyone, younger and older adults, as well as young teens and kids, said David A. Gross, who runs the Franchise Re movie consultant firm. Reviews are not good, but these pictures are made for moviegoers, not critics. When a release catches fire like this, it generates its own momentum, and you can set aside all projections. Now, Hollywood and Warner Brothers in particular was starved for a hit. Overall box office revenues continue to lag, with ticket sales currently 5.3% behind 2024 and a staggering 35% behind the statistics in 2019, according to ComScore. Now, though Minecraft helped shrink that gap, Warner Brothers is coming off the back-to-back theatrical misfires of Robert De Niro's Alto Kings and Bong Joon-ho and Robert Pattinson's Mickey 17. Now, up next, the studio has Sinners, the $90 million R-rated vampire thriller from Black Panther and Creed collaborators Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. The domestic box office has been asleep in 2025, and this is a long overdue wake-up call. So there you go. You can go see the Minecraft movie. It looks like it would be funner if you were allowed to drink copious amounts of booze while watching it. That being said, if I could sit through Avatar 2 and not point out all the plot holes to Mr. Mo, I'm sure I will be able to sit through, the Minecraft movie. And just because we needed cute turtles, the Philadelphia Zoo has announced its hatching of the first Galapagos tortoise babies. So there you go. The Philadelphia Zoo has announced the hatching of 4 critically endangered western Santa Cruz Galapagos turtles, the first of their species to hatch at a facility or at the facility in its history. Now, the zoo said the first egg hatched on February 27th, while the others emerged from their eggs in the ensuing weeks. Zookeepers said that they're still monitoring multiple eggs that could hatch in the coming weeks. Now, the eggs were laid by a mommy, a tortoise who is estimated to be about 100 years old and is considered a key asset for the Association of Zoos and Aquarium Species Survival Plan. Now, the father of the babies, Abrazo, who is also believed to be about 100 years old. Well, it's never the right time to have a baby. And by 100 years old, I'm sure you're at least wise. Now, the hatchlings are scheduled to make their public debut April 23rd, which is also the 93rd anniversary of the day the mommy first arrived at the zoo. This is a significant milestone of history for the Philadelphia Zoo. We couldn't be more excited to share this news with our city, region, and the world. Joel Morgerman, the zoo's president and CEO, said in a news release, "Mommy arrived at the zoo in 1932, meaning anyone that has visited the zoo for the last 92 years has likely seen her. Philadelphia Zoo's vision is that those hatchlings will be part of a thriving population of Galapagos turtles, that our healthy planet will have 100 years from now." Now, Abrazo came to the zoo in about 2020, and Mommy had since laid 4 clutches of eggs, but the first 3 did not produce any viable hatchlings. So there you go, and I didn't realize her name was Mommy. They made her a mommy before her age. Greedy bloke, I had no idea that they were delicious. I wonder if the dodo was better than extra crispy recipe. I've often wondered that, since they were hunted to extinction. In interesting legal news, this might be something if you are a lawyer and you need a weird legal case to go through on your channel, you can probably go through the finer points of this. Best mezzo-soprano singer on the planet was fired by Metropolitan Opera after she struggled to hit her high notes. Well, you are supposed to be a mezzo-soprano. If you can't hit the mezzo-soprano parts, then you can't do the job. She couldn't leave on a high note. The Metropolitan Opera booted out the best mezzo-soprano on the planet when she struggled to hit her high notes, the singer claims in a Manhattan federal court lawsuit. Anita Rachelvilla, look, I'm just going to say Anita from now on, was contracted to perform various shows at the legendary Manhattan Opera, including Adia, La Gioconda, Carmen, Don Carlo from 2022 to 2025, a deal worth upwards of $400,000. But instead of using her sonorous voice to belt out the famed works, the opera canceled her remaining performances in January 2023, accusing Anita, 40, of deterioration of vocal quality, she said in papers. Now, Anita, who gave birth to her daughter in November 2021, admitted that she was temporarily limited in her highest vocal range after becoming a mom, but said that there was never an impact on her work. Now, she was nevertheless at all times ready, willing, and able to perform before roles for which she was contracted, she said in court papers, noting that she has since recovered her full vocal range. She claims the Met and the union discriminated against her because she was pregnant. "I loved performing on the Met stage and looked forward to returning after the birth of my first child. I was shocked that I was not given a chance to recover and that all of my contracts for the next 2 years were immediately canceled without pay," she said in a statement. After supporting the Met throughout the pandemic, I am disappointed, to say the least, at this harmful treatment. Now, Anita, who hails from the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, now lives in Sicily, Once heralded as one of the greatest and most dramatic mezzo-sopranos by her Metropolitan Opera House or opera boss, Peter Gleb, in 2018, conductor Riccardo Muti declared her the best Verdi mezzo-soprano on the planet today, according to the New York Times. Now, adding insult to injury, the Metropolitan Opera initially agreed to buy out Anita's contract, only to renege later and refuse to pay the $400,000. She has returned to the union, but they failed to bail her out, she said in court papers. The American Guild of Musical Artists allegedly declined to file a grievance on Anita's behalf, she claimed in her legal filing. Now, Anita, who returned to performing in November in Naples, Italy, is seeking unspecified damages against the opera and the guild. And welcome, Shizzy Raiders. The cancellations at the Met negatively affected other bookings throughout the world, said Anita's attorney, Leonard Eggert. Opera singers are booked out years in advance. This created negative cascade event for her, and it had a devastating effect that she's only now coming back from. A spokesperson for the Metropolitan Opera declined to comment about any of the litigation that's currently going on. That being said, sounds like someone's going to have to pay the fat lady and make her sing. Now, in Catholic-related news, as it is Lent, apparently our modern-day saint is being, well, pilfered from. Now, I didn't know we had a newly canonized saint, but here we go. I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm not abreast of everything papist. Who knew? Look, y'all, I barely remember, the fish fry. The Catholic Church is condemning sales of Carlo Acutis relics, including locks of his hair, reportedly belonging to the first millennial saint. Well, he is a millennial. I'm surprised he hasn't put it on TikTok. And yes, I know he's a saint, so he's already dead, so that's in poor taste. The Catholic Church has denounced the sale of saint-related relics as online hawkers attempt to pawn unconfirmed locks of Carlo Acutis' hair for a hefty price in the lead-up to the first millennial saint's canonization. Now, many Catholics pray for saints' assistance through relics relating to them. At home, the average Catholic, on average, can use rosary beads, and you do get given like your patron saint. Not given, but you pick your patron saint when you go through confirmation. It's supposed to be the saint you most identify with. I don't know. That being said, it's kind of what we did in my house. And, they pray to a specific saint, like St. Anthony, if they need to find something, or different things. In the church, though, worshippers can pray using relics of the saint's body or clothing that are authenticated by ecclesiastical authorities and kept in the churches. Such relics are not allowed to be sold by the general public, however. But as many faithful await Acutis' canonization on April 27th, dubious dealers online are claiming to have parts of, quote, God's influencer. God's influencer? You want a flood? This is how we get a flood. Do not go around calling, this soon-to-be saint God's influencer. That's like Jesus's DJ. Now, an anonymous seller posted an auction for pieces of Acutis' hair for as much as $2,200, according to the Diocese of Assisi. Now, in March, Bishop Domenico Sorrento, who is based in Italy, asked authorities to confiscate the listed items. He noted that if the hair samples are fake, it would count as a great offense to religious belief. The relics are little fragments of the body. To say that the body is blessed, it explains to us the closeness to God, Sorrento said. Oh my gosh, they even have his own Buddy Christ statue picture. Oh, Lord. Y'all, I can't. I don't even know what to do with this one. And he has a football. Okay. Now, the auction listing was taken down shortly after, but the buzz did not fade. Now, religious leaders were quick to slam the attempted sales and noted the grave consequence of violating the sanctity of such relics. This is how we get, possession. Yeah, these look not semi-blasphemous, but all the blasphemous, okay? I mean, you don't see St. Francis of Assisi, who would be this one right here, you know, taking Jesus off the crucifix. That being said, I can understand, the solo, statuette, but this one, my grandma would not be a fan. My grandma would be, no. It's not just despicable, but it's also a sin. As a recovering Catholic, so is every fucking thing else. Dude, like, seriously, miss me. Like, even between a venial and a cardinal sin, I mean, look, you're screwed anyways, and you're just gonna have to do 10 more Hail Marys, so just deal. Every kind of commerce over faith is a sin, said Reverend Enzio Fortano, who leads the Vatican World Children's Day Committee. Now, other remains belonging to Acutis, who died in 2006, are floating around within the church per the canonization process. His body is currently on public viewing in Assisi, Italy. Over the last year, more than 1 million people from around the world have flocked around the shrine to bear witness to the first modern saint. And yes, we do in fact basically keep our saints on display. I don't know who started it. I don't know. Look, like I said, I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm not invited to, the meetings no more. They switched the secret handshake, and now I don't know. Now, Acutis, who has been dead for nearly 2 decades, had to undergo careful reconstruction so that his body could be presentable for public viewing. His face was even reconstructed with silicone. His heart was removed and preserved in an altar in yet another church in Assisi. Yes, so for those of you who don't know, in every altar in a Catholic church, there will be a little piece of a saint in there. Now, generally, I thought it was a bone. I didn't know it was a heart. But yes, every altar in a Catholic church is supposed to have some sort of bone in it or a piece of a saint. I don't remember why we do it, but I think it's in the rule book for somewhere. I cannot tell you. Okay, now while his heart is preserved at an altar in another church in Assisi, it will be moved to Rome for the canonization mass in late April. Because, that's all we need is like just a heart, in front. Now, the online listings for other parts of Acutis do not only violate Catholic tradition, but spit on his memories. Religious leaders said. Bishop Larry Kolick specified that the relics are very reverent and very solemn things for Catholics, and they are not only inspirational, but they really are opportunities to help you pray. It's also unfortunate that such a thing could happen, because that's really a misuse of the relics that are actually a disrespect to both him and his memory. Now, Acutis, who died from a battle against leukemia when he was just 15 years old, used modern technology to spread Catholic teachings online. He created an online exhibit detailing Eucharistic miracles throughout the centuries. Mo, would you watch a WB television show about a teenage Jesus set in current day? No, because they'd make Jesus, the Jesus character, it's the WB. They'd make him a quadriplegic, African American woman who has a girlfriend. No, I would not. But I would watch American Gladiators if they remade it. So make of that what you will. Hell, I will watch Golden Girl reruns for the rest of my life. So I will say that, I am not, I might not be the type to deal with that, but I'm also still, look, I know someone made a comment that I'm a wimp and everything about my video about, the Chronicles of Narnia and them switching, Aslan to possibly be a female lioness and be voiced by Meryl Streep. Look, I get it. I know I have ideas, but I think if that were to be pitched, my worry for that particular show would be that it would again be a cynical piss take about Christianity. And I'm getting really tired of cynical piss takes when the same isn't extended to other Abrahamic religions, because Charlie Hebdo is a thing. I don't know. You might be able to sell me with that. To be fair, I'd be willing to watch just about anything that isn't current TV. Well, you didn't say he'd be fighting demons. Now, does he turn water into wine on, like, command for his mother, his single mother? Because, I mean, if we need a mother of Jesus, I'm Mary with a drinking problem. So, I don't know. I mean, it could be a cool concept, but I think you'd really have to, deal with that. I don't know. Look, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe wasn't for everyone. Every kid is going to have their own thing that either, opened their eyes to reading or helped open the world of new possibilities in fantasy, to other people. Mo, mother of fake Jesus. Jesus, if you will. Well, you guys, that is all for Mornings with Mo. I think we've learned today, stay away from sea lions. Do not steal stuff from saints, even if they haven't been canonized, because the Vatican will get you. Oh, I will have to look at that, Patrick W. I am going to be sending you guys over. You will be redirected to Linda Sturmer. I had fully intended to catch up to Linda Sturmer's trial yesterday, but all of this rain and my leg was not having it. So we will be, speeding through day 5, getting into day 6, and then hopefully we will finally figure out what the hell happened in the Linda Sturmer case. So if you'd like to join me for the Petty Express, we will be there. And then we'll be switching things up just a little bit schedule-wise this week. Mr. Mo is changing his work hours. So after this, day block, I will reschedule you guys, and then I will be starting right up at 3 and going till about 6 to finish up the day. So there won't be a 7 o'clock evening stream, just to, try to get more family balance and, screen balance. That all being said, I hope you guys have a lovely day and I get to see you guys over on the Petty Express. I'm going to go make sure all of my fountain pens are filled so I can take copious and redonkulous amounts of notes to get us, trying to figure out what is going on. I do believe the Pope is still alive. I could be wrong about that, but I think he is still with us. As I said, I am a recovering Catholic and I only desire fish on Fridays. That is the extent to which my years and years of Catholic genetics has gone. That and I can do a rosary pretty fast. We don't have many skills, but I do have skills. I'll see you guys in a little bit. If you haven't heard it today and you need to hear it from a mama, you are loved just as you are and accepted just the same. And, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but carry a sassy mouth and, a salt level can of bitch fire because kindness no longer equals doormat. Bye, you guys. I'll see you in just a little bit.